The Battle of Faesulae in 406 CE was a significant confrontation between the Western Roman Empire and various barbarian groups, notably the Goths and Vandals. This battle, fought near the town of Faesulae, modern-day Fiesole in Italy, resulted in a decisive Roman defeat. The confrontation marked an important turning point in the decline of the Western Roman Empire, symbolizing the shifting power dynamics between the Roman authority and the invading barbarian tribes. Its significance lies in underscoring the vulnerability and eventual fragmentation of Roman power in the West, paving the way for the eventual collapse of the Western Roman Empire in the 5th century. To illustrate the impact of the Battle of Faesulae, one can look at its immediate aftermath: the sack of Rome in 410 CE by Alaric's Visigoths. This event shocked the Roman world and demonstrated the pressing consequence of military and political weaknesses exposed at battles like Fiesole. Furthermore, the strategic decisions made during this battle have been studied as examples of military mismanagement and overestimation of Roman capabilities against increasingly organized barbarian forces. In a broader sense, these events highlight the empire's inability to effectively integrate or counter the migratory tribes that pressed into its territories, a challenge echoed by modern discussions about immigration and border security. Opinions about the battle and its aftermath vary. Some historians interpret this defeat as a reflection of internal decay and corruption within the Roman political system, while others posit that it was more a consequence of the empire's inability to adapt to new military paradigms and socio-political realities. These viewpoints highlight the complexities surrounding the decline of mighty civilizations and the lessons therein. The controversies and challenges related to the Battle of Faesulae also include debates over the exact motivations and objectives of the barbarian groups. Some argue that these barbarians sought more than plunder. They aimed for settlement and integration within Roman lands, complicating the narrative of them as mere invaders. There are also discussions about the role of Roman leadership, particularly Stilicho, whose actions and decisions during these turbulent times were pivotal yet contentious. Ultimately, the Battle of Faesulae serves as a critical juncture that connects to the larger narrative of the Western Roman Empire's decline, illustrating how military defeats can catalyze broader political and social transformations. It emphasizes the interconnectedness of military, political, and cultural factors in shaping historical trajectories, offering insights into how empires manage or fail to manage external pressures and internal strife. The Battle of Fiesole in 406 CE represents a pivotal moment in the waning years of the Western Roman Empire, where Roman forces faced a significant defeat by invading barbarian groups. To fully grasp the implications of this battle, it is essential to explore its historical context and the preceding events that set the stage for this encounter. During this period, the Western Roman Empire was grappling with significant internal and external pressures. Economically strained and politically fragmented, the empire's stability was further compromised by the incursion of various Germanic tribes. Among these were the Goths, Vandals, and Alans, who were driven westward by the Huns, leading to increased tensions and competition for resources within Roman boundaries. The empire's inability to effectively manage and integrate these groups compounded existing vulnerabilities, culminating in events like the Battle of Faesulae. This context is critical, as it highlights the decline of Roman military prowess and administrative control, setting the scene for the empire's eventual fall. The battle itself is significant, not only as a military engagement, but also as a symbol of the shifting power dynamics between Rome and the so-called barbarians, who were increasingly seen not merely as outsiders, but as integral players in Roman geopolitics. Two notable examples illustrate these dynamics. First, the Gothic rebellion led by Alaric in the decade prior demonstrated how internal disruptions and deflections by Rome's mercenary forces could lead to substantial security threats. Second, the crossing of the Rhine by various barbarian groups in 406 CE, contemporaneous with the events at Faesulae, underscored the simultaneous external pressures facing the empire on multiple fronts. Opinions on this period often point to a combination of mismanagement and miscalculation by Roman authorities as key factors leading to these defeats. Historians argue that Rome's reliance on barbarian troops for defense was a strategic blunder, ultimately exacerbating its military dilemmas. However, alternative viewpoints suggest that the integration of barbarian groups could have been a strength if managed more effectively, proposing a narrative of missed opportunities for coexistence rather than inevitable conflict. The historical context and preceding events that led to the Battle of Faesulae are indicative of broader themes central to understanding the decline of the Roman Empire. These events reflect not just a military loss, but a profound shift in the ancient world, influencing Rome's societal structures and its relations with non-Roman peoples. Understanding this context enriches our comprehension of the battle itself and how it interplays with the eventual transformation of the Western world. The Roman military strategy and forces during the period of the Battle of Faesulae in 406 CE represent a multifaceted aspect of Roman military history, marked by both the prowess and the vulnerabilities of an empire struggling to maintain its borders against increasing barbarian incursions. At its core, Roman military strategy at this time relied heavily on a disciplined and well-organized army structure, which was noted for its legendary legions renowned for their rigorous training, strategic use of infantry formations, and advanced engineering skills. The significance of this strategy in the context of the Battle of Faesulae is profound. This battle was part of a larger series of conflicts that highlighted the decline of Roman military dominance, as the empire faced increasing pressure from various barbarian groups, such as the Visigoths and Vandals. The Romans' inability to effectively adapt their military strategies to counter these new threats was a crucial factor that contributed to their defeat. This period marked a transition, as the empire could no longer rely on traditional tactics that had served them well in previous centuries. One real-world example illustrating Roman military strategy is their use of forts and fortified lines to control and protect the boundaries of their territory. The Limes Germanicus, built along the Rhine and Danube rivers, demonstrated Rome's focus on defense against Germanic tribes. Another example is the Roman emphasis on flexibility and mobility within their legions, allowing them to respond to threats quickly and effectively. A strategy that had proven successful in earlier confrontations, but began to falter against more mobile and organized barbarian forces. However, there are differing opinions on the effectiveness of Roman military strategies during this time. Some historians argue that the Roman reliance on border fortifications and heavy infantry became obsolete with the changing nature of warfare, pointing to the need for reform and modernization that was not realized in time. The Roman strategy may have lacked the adaptability required to face fast-moving and varied enemies who utilized different warfare tactics. Additionally, challenges arising from internal political instability and economic strain compounded the difficulty of fielding a strong and cohesive military response. These factors influenced the broader context of Roman decline, connecting the failure at Fiesole to a wider narrative of an empire in transformation and its eventual fall. Despite these setbacks, Roman military legacy influences modern military thought, with its emphasis on organization and engineering, underscoring the timeless lessons learned from both successes and failures. The barbarian coalition and leadership during the Battle of Faesulae in 406 CE is a pivotal concept that underscores the dynamics between the Roman Empire and the various barbarian tribes it contended with. This coalition refers to the alliance of several barbarian groups, primarily composed of Visigoths, Vandals, and Suebi, who banded together to confront the waning might of Rome. Leadership within this coalition was crucial, as it allowed disparate tribes with different cultures and objectives to unite under common goals, often led by prominent figures such as Radagaisus during the events leading to Fiesole. The significance of the barbarian coalition lies in its demonstration of Rome's eroding influence and the increased organizational capabilities of these so-called barbarian groups. This shift is emblematic of the larger transformations during the late Roman Empire, where Rome was no longer the sole purveyor of military and political might in Europe. The ability of these tribes to form strategic alliances challenged the previously unassailable Roman legions and marked a significant step towards the eventual fall of the Western Roman Empire. One pertinent example of the barbarian coalition's impact is the eventual sack of Rome by the Visigoths in 410 CE, under Alaric, who leveraged alliances with other tribes following Faesule's success. Additionally, the coalition paved the way for the establishment of various barbarian kingdoms within Roman territories, such as the Vandal kingdom in North Africa, highlighting their enduring influence. Historians often view these coalitions through a lens of admiration for their strategic foresight, acknowledging their role in reshaping European power structures. However, there are challenges and controversies regarding the notion of barbarian unity. Some historians argue that these coalitions were often fragile, marked by internal strife and conflicting interests, rather than any enduring allegiance against Rome. Moreover, traditional Roman narratives labeled barbarian leaders as mere opportunists rather than legitimate political actors, a view that modern historiography tends to challenge by recognizing the complexity and strategic acumen involved in these alliances. This coalition concept ties into the broader narrative of late antiquity, where the intermingling of Roman and barbarian cultures catalyzed the transformation of the European continent, laying the foundations for the medieval period. In essence, the barbarian coalition and leadership not only served to highlight the decline of Rome, but also illustrate the rise of new polities and cultures that would shape Europe's future. It shows that while Rome's fall was a significant marker, it was the alliances and leadership of its adversaries that played a critical role in shaping the ensuing historical landscape.